welcome to Jump Off a Dock. I'm DJ.
I am Alex.
And this week we watched The Art of Political... What's up over there? Did you laugh or cough?
Nothing. No, nothing.
We watched The Art of Political Murder, a documentary about the murder of a Guatemalan bishop, a high-ranking church official who was murdered right when he was releasing a report about all the atrocities that the Guatemalan government had committed against its own people over the last 30 or so years during a civil war. So really a uplifting movie, of course.
We're gonna have to. We're gonna try to come up with laughs during this one. Dear Lord, I just want to start off by saying that we live safe, sheltered lives. We really do, don't we?
We do,
I mean,
yeah.
It's just so, which bothers me because I still want to be able to find time and energy, to fit complaining in my schedule. So it really makes it hard when I watch a film like this and I realize how good I got it.
I know. I think that's the beautiful part about complaining is how adaptable it is. You can find anything to complain about depending on your station in life.
It's true. It's like it's almost fractal.
What's fractal mean?
Fractal. When things like kind of like will branch off into smaller bits. It's like it can be minuscule. It can be huge. But I really don't know if I used it properly. I just like finding as many fractal things in the universe as possible because.
Well, I would never call you out for using the word improperly. If you felt like it was right, then I think it was right.
No, you see, I want to be made better. I want for steel to sharpen steel.
If that's what you're looking for out of this friendship, no way, buddy. I'm taking you down to the bottom with me.
Dear Lord. You know what? I need to get some good new steel.
This documentary, just made me realize, when they said the civil war in Guatemala went on from, 1960 to 96, 36 years, I was just like, dear Lord. That's the whole time I've been alive. I'm 36 years old. It would have just been...
Yes.
I'd be a completely different person. You just never... even if one day they say it's over and things are good again, you're like, no, they're not. It's too deeply ingrained in you now. Yeah,
vague. Like peace is a vague concept. If you grow up under those conditions, which is very difficult for us to imagine, given the fact that all we have known is really is peace within our lives, which scares the hell out of me, right? Because if things get bad, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. I don't know. I haven't grown accustomed to. I haven't been stockpiling anything or training, doing any kind of physical activity. To be honest with you.
No, I know. But then the opposite is if you're doomsday prepping during times of peace, that does something to you mentally too, where it's why am I acting like the world's about to end? It's like I'm wishing for it to end. Things are okay. Why am I, why am I preparing?
Is that like manifesting? Are you manifesting? Ugh, I hate it when you do some negative manifesting. Ugh, it's the worst kind of manifesting.
So, you're anti-religion. Correct me if I'm wrong by the end of this, but I have a thought here. You're not a religious guy, and I'm not either. But the thing that struck me about this movie is when they finally killed this high-ranking church official, which is what the whole movie is centered on, that really woke the Guatemalan people up. They were like, well, if they can kill this bishop, this beloved bishop, well, then now none of us are safe. And that kind of ignited the country, right? So is that a positive side of religion? Do you look at that as being like, oh, okay, so religion does serve a positive purpose if this gruesome murder of a church official is enough to inspire the people to action?
Yeah, I'd like to start off by because you gave me the opportunity to correct you if you're wrong. If you were wrong. Mm-hmm. So you're wrong. I'm not anti-religion. I'm not religious, but I do actually, probably more than people who aren't religious, I do see the value of religion. That maybe I think there's problems with it or whatever, but it is at least some center in which people can do good. Sometimes it gets used to do evil, but it allows some sense of community where people can get together and at least agree on what is right and what is wrong outside of what the state says. Anyway, I think that is good. That the fact that this is a beloved, and he was beloved. I mean, that's the way they talked about him made me feel like, I wish I had like a Gerardi in my life. He seemed like he had kindness and wit. Both.
Yeah.
Because I got, one, I think. I don't know about the other one. I'm
Which
pretty,
one do you think you have?
I set you up for that on purpose. It's because we're trying to get laughs on this thing. For God's sakes, it's a sad thing.
There's that wit of yours coming through.
Yes. No kindness. No, I don't think I can be kind, but not like.
No, you got
I'm
it
not
all.
kind
I'll speak like they spoke of Gerardi when you pass in just a few months.
What do we talk about manifesting? So
Decades.
knock on wood, for God's sakes.
Centuries. I got it. I'm knocking on wood right now. I got a wood table. You're good, buddy. You're good for years.
Okay, thanks. I don't want centuries, though. I don't want to live like a vampire. It seems quite dull and yeah.
Oh, yeah.
His greatness and his leadership in a community, I mean, the fact that you could just like knock him off like he's nothing, that was a ballsy move in a way that really did come back to haunt them.
Yeah, it really did. They felt invincible. And
yes,
this is a spoiler, but if you haven't seen the documentary, then maybe this is just giving you a little cliff note of it. But the reason...
Right.
I just thinking
the idea. Yeah, just the idea of like, but he didn't watch the documentary, and you're listening to this or watching the podcast. Then maybe you're not at the right place right now because we're talking about this thing.
But they would have gotten away with it, I think, if the one homeless witness hadn't been a spy for the government.
Right.
That twist at the end was insane.
A spy with a conscience. Could you imagine for how long he felt like bad, like this beloved bishop, like he's partially responsible for, or at least the cover up of the death of this guy. Like he must have held on to that. He said that, at least, his truth now might do some good. The fact that, I mean, without him, you need somebody. You need like a whistleblower.
Yeah.
We talked about this before, I think, about the blowing of the whistle.
Probably.
Did we? I feel like, I like the idea of whistleblowing. I don't like the idea of like it kind of pretty much ruins your life after that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like I'd like to blow this whistle, but I'm a bit out of breath. Like I don't think I can get a good blow out of this whistle.
Especially in this movie, they said they couldn't protect witnesses if they said anything to impugn themselves while they were on the stand. So like while he was giving his testimony, they were just waiting for him to say one thing where they could be like, "You're going to jail. Doesn't matter if everything else he said is true. We got you." So like he was so smart in the way he like navigated the whole thing.
Yeah, they called him wily. I like that. I like that they were, the people who came forward they're very heroic. Some of the people, like for example, the trial judge, that they threw a couple of grenades into her home, and how they really thought that would be it because so many people had been scared out of the country. They went into exile.
They all go to Costa Rica.
That's right. That's the place to be. It's beautiful. I'd like to actually visit, and not because I want to go in exile, but it's just a lovely.
You know what? I'm going to speed up your journey. I'm going to throw a couple grenades through your window. I want to see you go to Costa Rica. I think you'll really like it.
This sounds like the weirdest game show. Looks like you're going to Costa Rica. Like terrible game show that is.
But yeah, the judge still coming to trial the next day after they threw grenades. You wouldn't see me there. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. I mean, and she showed up and was, just bravely showed up, just defiant and brave. I just loved seeing that. I thought like, especially they probably, again, so confident that they've just, all they've done for decades is just harass and terrorize people. And then the fact that he I can't remember the name of the perpetrator.
Villanueva was one, and Lima was the other.
I think Captain Lima, the younger of the Limas, the Lima the younger. He his face like contorted or something like that when she walked in, and I thought like, yeah, Lima, deal with it.
I know.
That was girl power right there.
Yeah, you can't be throwing grenades, man. They're too unpredictable. If you want to, I mean, maybe they weren't trying to kill her. Maybe they were just trying to send a message. But
either way, right? Exactly.
Yeah. But
I think in a way, sending a message is probably better because if you kill her, then maybe she'll just get replaced. But this way, maybe it'll be thrown. I don't know. It just it felt good to see this. I'll tell you, but they call it the art of political murder, and these guys were not good artists. It turns out, right? I mean, they I'll tell you, there was nary an art in this. There was barely any craft.
Looks like they did a pretty good Jackson Pollock approximation in the Bishop's driveway.
Ouch. You know, I thought I was being disrespectful with my little arts and crafts joke, but ay.
Honestly, though, if we can skip over to that, just since I made that crude joke about it, they bludgeoned him with a cinder block or a cement block.
Yeah.
I think that's how I'd want to go. I'm assuming that you die on the first fell swoop. I think. I don't.
If you do.
I'm hoping. I don't want to be tortured. There's like so many terrible ways that evil
torture,
people like that can hurt you.
Yeah, I'll take that over torture. Yeah, and they did that. I mean, they talked about how many people had died during the Civil War, but then there was also 45,000 people who just disappeared, and that's actually even scarier to some extent.
Yeah, that's why it surprises me that they didn't kill the judge, like that they were kind of haphazard about it, because they had killed 200,000 civilians, 45,000 missing, like you said. Like, it's not like that was out of the realm of possibility for these.
I know, and they missed the one that really counted.
Yeah,
and I'll tell you got to be kicking yourself for that one. Dear Lord, but you know what's interesting is this. What they didn't mention in all of this documentary, which, by the way, was a fairly dry procedural. I was actually thinking about you because you chose this one, and I was thinking that maybe you were having a little difficulty getting through it because it didn't have had a few dramatizations, but not really. It wasn't like a one of those glitzy ones that really sell the true crime.
Yeah, I didn't mind it. There's other ones we've watched that have been a lot drier than this one that I understand the ones you're alluding to, but this one was the payoff was worth it at the end with him being a spy. If they hadn't given me that, though, you would have heard it.
I like this giving me that. Did you want a payoff? You know, these are people's lives, right? You know that?
Well, anyway, if you're making a documentary, you better make sure their lives are interesting. That's all I'll say.
There is something to be said for that. You're right. I mean, it's not to say documentaries are good just by the virtue of being true. Although it's nice when they are. That you know, they didn't mention the whole reason for the Civil War. Did you do any research on that? Because
no.
Like what started the Guatemalan Civil War? Well,
what happened?
You'll be very happy that I'm the nerd of us two.
Bananas?
Not just because I wear glasses. What's it? Bananas?
Yeah, I'm going to throw out bananas as a hypothesis.
Do you know that you're not far off? Do you know that's one of the root causes? Do you know that?
I play the Joker well, but there's some intelligence rooted somewhere in there.
Yeah, we're still looking.
Chiquita? Is it Chiquita?
You're dropping. The intelligence meter is really dropping.
I think we need to look into Chiquita. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, we're going to look into Chiquita, you idiot. In 1954, the CIA helped overthrow the Guatemalan democratically elected government. There's a president, and what happened was he supported land reform. This is how the Mayan, the genocide of the Mayans, how that was part of it was because it was going to benefit a lot of the indigenous peasantry and all that sort of thing. So, but the problem is that this would be at the expense of there's a U.S.-based United Fruit Company, bananas.
I've heard of them.
And so they didn't care much for that, and there was other private interests too. And so what they did was they hired a PR guy who turned out to be Freud's nephew, Sigmund Freud's nephew.
Really?
Yes, to stir up this kind of this communist fear mongering. So that Guatemala is like a Soviet beachhead, and that they could interrupt the Panama Canal, right? And then the CIA at the time was relatively new, and they had just overthrown the Iranian government with the MI6, and they were feeling pretty bolstered by that and feeling good, and they were like, let's do this sort of thing again, and they started profiling potential dictators to take over.
My God!
And so once again, the CIA doing good around the world. And that actually started once that happened in Guatemala. That was kind of that was almost like a model for all of like different parts of Central America. So
were they the
kind of
first? Was Guatemala the first country the CIA went into?
Yeah, that's what I gathered that from finding some other sources. I was looking at different sources, you see, because I'm a fine researcher.
And Freud's nephew, you said?
That's what I got, yeah.
I think the slogan that he came up with for the marketing campaign was sometimes a banana is just a banana.
Hey, not bad at all.
I've been sitting on that for the last couple minutes while I was listening to you. I was like, I hope
Right.
I still have a chance to throw this out there.
Right. This is precisely like you with your hand up in Mrs. Simpson's class, where she said something and you had a joke that you needed the whole class to enjoy while she enjoyed the fact that you were contributing something. And she appreciated it. I didn't. So this is... no, that's not true. We enjoy this here.
That was a callback to Children Full of Life. We expect that you're watching every single episode.
There was also, and there's, by the way, just a little bit more if you're curious.
I'm very curious.
Like through this, because it's like a 30-year war, right?
Yeah.
A civil war. So, which was started, essentially, that was kicked off by the U.S. Thank you very much. And then... what happened was, and by the way, the reason why, look, what happened was they started to, like, the battles were between the military and the leftist guerrillas, but it also, like, the military started to target anybody who seemed sympathetic to them, which is why the Mayans were involved, basically the entire indigenous villages, and Catholic priests and nuns. They were also, so there's that. So then U.S. consistently supported the military in spite of being well aware of its human rights abuses. So they knew the U.S., yeah. So this is wonderful. In 1977, good old President Jimmy Carter wanted to change things. He was always a sweet guy, wasn't he?
Yeah, he had a good heart.
He did have a good heart, it turns out. Tried to pressure Guatemala's government to stop just to stop, sorry. Then what happened was Reagan popped in. And consistent with his Cold War stance in El Salvador and Nicaragua, he wanted to be tough on the leftists in Guatemala. So, the 80s is when most of the worst of the atrocities happened. You know, good old Grandpa Reagan that everybody loves so much.
Yeah.
So that's another. In addition to what else did he do? I think one episode we talked about how he allowed institutions to shut down and people were just sent into the streets. We talked about that, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Mental patients were sent into the streets. He did a lot of good stuff in the 80s. So I don't know. These are for the Republicans listening.
I just think it was one of my favorite parts of the movie was when Monsignor Gerardi left the village of Quiche because it was getting too violent, and he was basically kicked out of there by the government forces. And then he went and he visited the Pope, and the Pope's advice to him was, "You need to go back to Quiche." I just think that's so funny that the Pope's like, that place that was really scary, so scary that you shut the church down and had to leave? Go back. You sure? I'll listen to whatever you say, boss, but...
Yeah, kind of easy for him to say in his high tower, in his beautifully painted gold, what would you call it?
Room?
I don't know what you call it. Temple? I don't even know exactly.
He's like, hey, listen, I'd come to Quiche with you, but I got a few administrative things to take care of here, but you should go back.
You have no idea. The piles on my desk that I have to deal with, you have no idea. But you, keep me abreast, send me a letter whenever you can. That was very easy for him to send him back. And then what happens,
Yeah. Well, another thing that's crazy about any scandal involving Catholic church leaders is how easily, it made me realize it doesn't matter where in the world it happened, how easily they can just be like, this was some homosexual shady business. That's why he died. Case closed, everybody. Look away.
Right.
They just easily, guys, you don't even want to know. It was some weird shit they were doing. It was gay. Let's move on. You're like, what?
Yeah.
No.
And then, they're hoping that people don't want to say, I want to look into this.
Yeah.
There's something, I've also heard something about how this whole Civil War is part of the reason that that Guatemalans are like trying to get into the U.S. or something like that. Like essentially it's that, and there's like the like that there are also climate refugees trying to get into the U.S. I didn't kind of go down that road. I sort of saw something about that, but I didn't really research it too much. I don't know. Do you know anything about this?
I don't know enough about how the Civil War has affected it, other than I'm sure it's only been like 25 years since that one ended, according to this documentary, so I'm sure they're still suffering all the economic and political fallouts from that. But I have learned about the climate refugee aspect of it, and they're being hit first and hardest by global warming. So yeah, farmers are having a tough time growing anything. They
Right.
can't make food, they can't make a living. So yeah, and I know that's a big part of why a lot of them are migrating north.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I guess that makes sense that would be. But I mean, it just seems like there's so many different reasons that our part of the world screws up that part of the world, you know. And I was actually looking up a little bit of the what the situation is now, and there was relatively recently a court had found that there was like certain atrocities that were committed against like a Mayan, like certain women, and that they were found to be guilty. So it's still happening, and at least there is some justice happening. So that's good to see.
Yeah. But this movie didn't leave me with a very good feeling for justice, because
No, yeah, I know what you mean.
they got charged, like the elder Lima, the younger Lima, Villanueva, but they never found who orchestrated it, like who gave them the charges to do that. So you're still left feeling pretty empty at the end, like, well, why'd they do that? Who told them to do that?
Yeah. What about the guys who are really high? Because those are the ones that are really the puppet masters, the ones pulling the strings. They're the ones that you want to truly take down. They're the truly heinous.
Mm-hmm.
But dear Lord, this is the trouble with the world that we live in. Just thinking about that, like how, as we watch documentaries, like so many things, particularly these days with like true crime and people watching that and whatever, like we're always like profiling like the worst of humanity. It's rare that we like profile the best of us, like where it's about, it's so easy to focus on the terrible things that have happened. People are so fascinated by terrible things, and yet we miss out on filling our minds with good deeds and great people.
It's true. It's true.
It's like particularly now, like particularly with like true crime being such a big, almost kind of like it's almost pornographic in the way that people are eating it up.
Big time.
Yeah.
But I think that's an element as well of, how I said complaining, you can find a way to complain no matter how good your life is. I think the true crime reflects that as well, because a lot of people are living pretty good lives. So they're like, let me take a peek into a more sinister life that other people are living. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've never murdered anyone, and knock on wood, nobody's murdered anybody in my family. But what's that look like?
Up to a certain point, and then it's like, okay, how many times do you need to see this? I think that's the problem I have, is like, I don't know how many times I need to see this, because it always feels like it's the same story. It's different stories, but the same. Yeah, it feels like it's just the same stuff.
Well, even what you were saying about the CIA going into Guatemala and everything, how many times can I hear about the CIA going in and overthrowing a government and fucking up a whole country and or continent before I'm like, okay, I get it. Like, there's nothing I can do about it, though.
Yeah. But this one, at least, they were young and fresh, so you really get a chance to see them when they're, new at it.
That young baby-faced CIA.
Oh, yeah.
They had their whole life ahead of them.
Hard not to for a mother not to love that kind of baby.
What's your takeaway from this? Like we said right from the outset of this episode, it's going to be hard to make it funny. And, the only attempt I made at making it funny, I believe, was when I referred to the crime scene as a Jackson Pollock painting, which I don't feel good about. That's the hard part about this show. It's like when you watch it, like I'm in the middle of watching this movie, I'm like, this isn't funny.
No. And I don't think it's really, we should watch it not thinking of how to make it funny. because I think that's probably
Jackson Pollock.
not right. Yeah, it's probably not right to see how you can punch up a gruesome documentary.
No, but that's the problem with society too. You were talking about our fascination with true crime and everything. Another fascination is, like, for example, when Alec Baldwin was involved in that unfortunate incident a month or two ago, so many Alec Baldwin jokes going around about how he killed somebody, and I'm like, dude, like, somebody died. Like, a woman got shot to death. What's funny about this?
Yeah, it's funny how, like, the thing that used to be the domain of comics going up, you know, at a show, at an open mic or whatever, and like doing the too soon joke has now been fair game for everybody with a Twitter account or whatever it is to then also do that thing. But then it becomes like this competition. Like it's just at a grand global scale. And you're just like, it's so pathetic. To me, it's almost pathetic. It's you're so desperate for attention that you're willing to anything is game. And to me, it's like, you know what? I don't. That's why I just don't like to associate with these people. Yeah. As far as my takeaway from this was, again, my takeaway was with the hearing that what I really thought of the two things. You said about the nobody being charged with the, you know, with the ordering of the murder. I liked the positive, which is that it was strengthened and ennobled the Justice Department. They said that. Yeah. And then when they talked about, you know, missing him, you know, with all his kindness and his wit and all that, you know, I was sort of trying to focus on that positive, on the idea that, you know, this is a great guy that everybody really appreciated. And they miss him, but it's the fact that he did touch their lives, that these people do exist, and they're like a good model. Versus, you know, and focusing on that, and focusing on the fact that there will always be bad people doing bad things, but, you know, at least there are brave people fighting them, and actually finding some justice. But dear Lord, it's exhausting, you know. Like I said, like these people who are just even now still, you know, trying to get some justice. Just years and years of living with this feeling of like knowing someone got away with doing something terrible to you. It takes a lot. It takes a lot to like keep at it. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I wonder if I at some point I just kind of I'm exhausted. I just gonna whatever. Let the afterlife handle it. Maybe something will happen in the afterlife. I can't deal with this. I don't have the energy.
You believe in the afterlife?
No, but I'm just saying that's, you know, what else you got? If it ain't happening in this life, all you can say is like maybe. Yeah. But probably not. But maybe.
Maybe. We can only hope. We can only hope that the bad people are going to hell. That's a nice thought.
I feel like I want to end this episode on, hey, you know, maybe. Mm-hmm.
I want to end it on, I think what you said is a good way to end it, that Monsignor Gerardi was a good man, and there are a lot of documentaries that focus on the bad stuff that's happening, including this one, but we can frame it as what a great portrait of a man who is trying to do good in the world. And even all the other people like Ronald Ochieda, you know, a few of the other ones, I just remember his name because I loved it. But so many people who were like trying to write this report and catalog the atrocities and make sure that justice was served, even with violence being, you know, sent their way. Takes big cojones to do that. Cojones that I don't think I have, but fortunately I haven't been pushed into a situation like that. So kudos to those people for bringing people to justice and fighting in the face of what would be, you know, a juggernaut that I don't know I would stand up against. You throw a couple grenades through my window, or you come and put a gun in my 4-year-old son's mouth like they did to Ronald's son, that kind of thing, I'm gone. Peace. Yeah. So, I mean, he was gone too.
Sorry, everybody. It looks like you're going to have to be on your own with this one. I wish you the best of luck. I can let you know who my travel agent is if you're looking to maybe also book a flight.
Costa Rica is beautiful this time of year.
Yes, Costa Rica. I do want to go.
That should be their tourism slogan. Costa Rica.
Somewhere to flee.
Somewhere to flee. Costa Rica.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's been another episode of Jump Off a Dock. They can't all be uplifting, but we talked about it, and that's important.
I agree. We did, and we're done doing it.
I'm DJ.
I'm Alex.
We'll catch you next week. See ya.
The other one.